Amazing. So I'm really curious to know the fact that you've lived with this show and the content for so long, you know, writing, editing, shooting, just creating. How do you feel when you watch your own show? Are you able to enjoy it like an audience, like feel the thrills, edge of the seat kind of feeling, the way we feel, you know, by biting our nails and heads off? Like, do you feel that way?
I watch the show and I mouth the dialogue around. I don't do that, actually. You know, I've now seen it so many times. It's hard to experience it with anything but exhaustion.
You're able to be objective.
Yes, I know it's pretty good. And for me, you know, the only times that I've had real success in my career, it's when I've done something that I wanted to see as opposed to something that I thought other people wanted to see. And Narcos is very much a show that if I had nothing to do with it, unless I absolutely hated the people that were involved and I couldn't bring myself to watch it, I would watch Narcos religiously.
Do you respond to feedback as well? I mean, when you get feedback for seasons, it's mostly been positive, but do you all keep a check for the kind of feedback you've gotten per episode?
I'm sure you both know that you could get 100 great reviews, which I'm sure you often do. It's the one bad review that actually sticks with you. So yes, there are times, you know, if I agree with criticism, I use it as reinforcement. Sometimes I'll read something about our show that I hadn't noticed. For the most part, the only thing that you know, Netflix compiles a tremendous amount of data. They do not share that data with me. They don't tell me, here's what people like, here's what people don't like. I do know anecdotally that the thing that people really appreciate is authenticity, is the reality of it. And so we aspire every chance we get to infuse that authenticity. And I think it's what works in global television. It's why, you know, Sacred Games to me is a show that I've been to Mumbai. It's the second time in my life. I don't know that much about it, but I watched that show and it feels real. And I believe that we all do. You can watch a show, as you have, that takes place in Colombia and Mexico, and you know the difference. If we were to have shot this show in Arizona, which, by the way, people do, and Netflix thankfully never suggested anything but shooting in Colombia and Mexico, but a lot of American television studios and companies would say, do it where it's cheap and where it's totally safe, although it was very safe in Mexico. And you might do that, but an audience will tell. They'll be able to tell. They'll know the difference.
Right. And, you know, apart from making such an entertaining show, I think you've also been kind of making a political statement with the show. You know, with every season, you seem to be zooming out. You know, we've seen Medellin, we've seen Cali, we're now going to Mexico. And it's a bit like The Wire. We are now seeing a bigger system at play. We are seeing this war on drugs with a different perspective. You know, it's not just Mexico anymore. So talk a little bit about that. Was that always the intent, is to broaden the lens on this universe and let the audience start seeing the real problem?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think we all, every nation on earth struggles with drugs. I mean, and the same cocaine that you find in Mumbai, you'll find in Tokyo, New York, London, Nairobi. It doesn't matter, it's the same stuff. And we still, you know, we all have the same struggle, and we all continue to focus on the supply of cocaine rather than the demand. And, you know, the star of Narcos is not Pablo Escobar or Felix Gallardo or Kiki Camarena or Colombia or Mexico, it's cocaine. And so we've been allowed to sort of, in making this show the way we're making it, to look at the entire sort of dark web that ties it all together.
You said something very interesting. I read in an interview. You said that Colombia doesn't have a cocaine problem. They have a capitalism problem. America has a cocaine problem. You know, that's a great insight. Did you get this insight even before you went into the writer's room?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, they're fond of saying in Colombia, and it's true, that if the cocoa leaf grew in Virginia, it would be legal in the United States. The thing that, you know, nothing is as it's presented. You know, the problem with cocaine is not so much the cocaine, it was the billions of dollars that were leaving the US economy and going down to South America. Had that not been the case, I think we'd have a very different relationship with cocaine.
And Eric, this season, the first couple of episodes, you've also co-written, right? And the IMDb page says you haven't, you're coming back to the writer's chair after NYPD Blue. And what made you take that decision is to come and sit in the writer's chair?
By the way, that's incorrect on IMDb. That is another Eric Newman that I have yet to encounter who wrote an NYPD Blue episode in 1994. I was still in college.
Oh, so,
yeah, so that's not me.
Is this the first time that you are?
Another Eric Newman who writes religious films, and that's not me. And then there are two Eric Newmans who
that's a note to IMDb.
There are two Eric Newmans who are murderers. One most recently, who threw his wife off the balcony of a cruise ship. Yeah, it's strange. I guess it's a fairly common name, but no, that is not mine. I was a film producer for many years, and I found my way into television fairly late. And I really, if you told me all those years ago that I would end up in television, I would have thought I had failed, because television in those days was not what it is now. And I think shows, and Narcos is certainly one of them, and we take no credit for this movement, but the global television space has exploded with such amazing shows. I mean, and Netflix is carrying a lot of them, Fauda and Sacred Games and Babylon Berlin, and it's
Money Heist.
Money Heist is great, So I think that's, to be a part of that, really, for me, the only way that I could have been satisfied in television, and I love it.
Right, and one thing I want to ask you as a producer is, generally, because you've been in both worlds, feature and now TV, for feature producers, they're always getting anxiety about the opening weekend and all that. As a TV producer, what kind of anxiety are you going through when you are about to open a show?
Well, we're so connected, and everything is so to the minute. We already know what people think of the show before. I mean, we've gotten a few reviews. We've done press in Mexico, Singapore, here. The guys went to Europe, Los Angeles, obviously. And so we get a pretty good sense of how the show is going to go over. So there isn't a lot of anxiety beyond just wanting the fans of the show to watch it and feel like it continues to deliver what they've come to expect in the show.
Okay, so we're going to have a little fun now. We've gotten to know a lot about the show. Now we want to get to know you a little better. Okay. So we're going to play this rapid fire game, which we do a lot, which I've messed up in a lot of times in my life. But I'm going to keep it very simple for you, because I'm a kind human being.
Thank you.
So the idea is to answer rapidly.
Okay.
That's what's a rapid fire. Okay, so favorite scene or episode from Narcos so far?
The dance scene in season 3, episode 1, Pachahura.
Okay. Yeah, I love that scene. A secondary character from the show that deserves its own show.
Oh, that's easy. Don Neto, Joaquin Cosio, who's the co-star of season 4. He's great, right? Yeah, he's the best. He's an amazing. Our cast, the Mexican cast, these are some of the greatest actors I've ever worked with. That's amazing.
Okay, if you were to choose an actor to replace Wagner Moura, who would it be?
Tough one.
Yeah, really hard. Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay, favorite Spanish expression?
In Mexico, they say "no tiene madre," which means it's motherless, and it's a sort of a bad thing. If something goes wrong, Diego can explain it better than I can, but that's basically it, right? Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, one show that you wish you would have made. A show that you've watched that you wish.
Oh, The Sopranos. It's the greatest show ever, yeah. Sopranos is great.
And a story that you feel needs to be told.
I think the real story of Wild Wild Country needs to be told.
Woohoo! Okay, so that was amazing. You did very well, spoke very rapidly. This conversation and this evening would be totally incomplete without the stellar cast of Narcos Season 4. So please welcome the humongous stars, Michael Peña and Diego Luna.